about COVID-19. You are in Broward County, many black communities in this area, down south in Miami-Dade, many Latino communities. Research has shown these communities are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19.
They sure are.
What are your plans to slow the spread and also help those in the hospital?
Well, first of all, let's acknowledge the fact that you have, if you are an African American in the nation, in America, you are 3 times as likely to get COVID and 3 times as likely to die. And it's about the same exact number for Hispanics as well. It's wrong. And there's a reason for that. One, it's hard to get access to the hospitals, number one. Number two, it's difficult to be, many have pre-existing conditions, particularly older folks, whether it is diabetes or, and it's just much more dangerous. So we have to deal with it, number one. But number two, we have to acknowledge it. I'm the guy that insisted that the CDC begin to keep records because I was in Detroit, which is now almost 80% African American, and the mayor up there was telling me way back in March what was happening, and it's got to be dealt with. What I'm going to be doing, if I'm President of the United States, is laying out what every major serious immunologist in the world talks about. We have to be wearing masks. It's not a mandate, but it's just a patriotic responsibility. It's not about protecting you, it's about protecting the person next to you, your friend, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, whomever you are with on a regular basis, or your neighbor. Number two, we have to increase testing and tracing. Testing, I'm going to make sure that we have as much testing on a daily basis we now have in 7 days a week in the United States of America. The President says the other day, he said the reason the doctors are calling for testing is so they can find more cases and charge people money. What in the hell is he talking about? But you find testing matters. It matters. Thirdly, we've got to make sure that we provide people with the PPE, what you and I have on masks, and all of the layout, a national standard for social distancing and how to open up businesses and schools. The Congress has already passed a multi-billion-dollar program to allow us to be able to open safely. The Republicans won't pass it. You have 1 in 6 African-American small businesses going out of business because they're not able to get the help that the Congress voted for them to get. One of the reasons all the schools can't be opened is because they passed a bill in the United States House of Representatives for $200 billion nationwide. So you could have cleanliness, you could have air filtration that's changed, the PPE, smaller class sizes, modules, more teachers. They won't pass it. They won't do it. And so it's a big mistake. And the President has announced, as I said today, his Chief of Staff said, we're giving up on the pandemic. It is what it is. Well, it is what it is because he is who he is. It's totally irresponsible.
And before I go into a question about black voter turnout, I do want to ask about the Trump campaign has been telling many Cuban Americans and Venezuelan Americans that you are a socialist. You have denied that. Your campaign has denied that. But how can you assure Cuban Americans and Venezuelan Americans that you're not? And what are you going to do if you win to make sure that...
Look at my record. He is just a lying president. There's not a single solitary thing that I have ever done that anyone's ever remotely... Matter of fact, I'm the guy that ran against socialists, okay? I'm the guy that's the moderate. Remember, you guys are all talking. You'd interview me and say, well, you're a moderate. How can you win the nomination? It's who I am. It's all about American values. And he's implying that I don't have American values. The guy who doesn't have the American values is this president. Honor, dignity, truth, honor, making sure we treat people with respect. And what's happened? If you know, what's made this state stronger and our community stronger is the Cuban Americans who fled Castro a long time ago. If the policies of this president had been in place at the time, they wouldn't be here. You have hundreds and thousands of Cubans on the border in Mexico he won't let in. He's deporting Cuban Americans back to dictatorship. He's denying them the whole idea of protective status here in the United States, along with Venezuelans. This guy is the worst person to carry the banner of saying he wants to take on dictators and take on socialists, because everything he does is consistent with the kind of things they're doing. Slow the vote, talk about not having the vote taken, counting, and so on and so forth. Look, this is just absolutely bizarre. The idea that he won't provide protective status, temporary protective status for Venezuelans fleeing. Why is he sending them home? Why, if he believes as I do that Castro's a dictator, why is he sending Cubans that fled here, back to Cuba? Why? He is no good for them.
And then you're also in Broward County, like we said.
Yes.
The Haitian Americans, Caribbean Americans,
Very
black community. It's no secret that Senator Kamala Harris, she's also coming here. There's a push to get black voters to the polls. How can you assure these black communities that their votes will count? And what will your administration do if you win? How will it help?
Well, first of all, you meet the community where it is. The Haitian community is different than the African American community in Detroit. The Haitian community, the Caribbean island communities, the Jamaican community, they're different. Understand the differences, which I do. That's why I've been to Little Haiti a number of times. I was just, matter of fact, talking about the priest down there. But my whole generic point is that take a look what's happened. 500,000 African Americans, black folks, have already voted. There's another 250,000 out there. They're turning out. Look at it across the country. In Philadelphia, in Delaware, they're lining up long, waiting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 7 hours to vote. This idea that they're not engaged is simply not true.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. I really do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.